Today, our topic of discussion is well formed formula to clausal form conversion. Now, the question is why we need this kind of conversion. In the previous day, we were interested in mechanical inference by a program using FOPL expression. So, one method I have discussed, which is known as resolution. So, there are four basic steps. So, now I am talking about resolution algorithm. Why I have used this algorithm in the previous day? Because we want to find out some mechanical inference by a program using first order logic. So here the first step in resolution algorithm was conversion of facts into first order logic, and the second step was conversion of this first order logic into conjunctive normal form. And then we have fourth and fifth step that I have already discussed. That is, you have to perform negation, you have to negate the conclusion, and then you have to draw unification tree. However, today I will focus on these two steps mainly. Why? Because previous day the example was very simple, because the fact which was given to us, it was the humidity is high or sky is cloudy. Now, how to convert it into CNF? It is very easy, because the humidity is high will be assumed as P, and I will use one disjunction, that is or, and then the sky is cloudy will be termed as Q. Now it is automatically converted to conjunctive normal form, because conjunctive normal form means we have disjunction on these literals P and Q. Now today we will learn what are the further steps that includes in between these two steps, step 1 and step 2, when the given fact is in WFF. What I mean to say is that consider another example, that John likes all kinds of food. So now whenever this kind of statement is given, so all kind of food will be represented as for all x, food x, and since I'm using universal quantifier, so our main connective will be implication sign, and John is the subject and the rest of the part is predicate. So the essence of this statement is John likes all kind of food. So I can write John, comma, food x. So whenever this kind of examples are given to us, converting them into CNF will include further more steps that exist in between these two steps. And this kind of statement is definitely is in WFF. So we are learning how to convert the fact which are given in WFF and how to convert them into clausal form. Clausal form means how to convert them in conjunctive normal form. So today our topic of discussion is WFF to CNF, or you can say clausal form conversion. Now I am assuming that the statement is already converted into WFF. And now at this point of time, I will try to convert this WFF into clausal form. Say the given example is, for some x, there exists x, for all y, for all z, p of fx, fx is a function, and y and z are the variables. Then we have implication. There exists u. Then we have another function q, x comma u. Then we have and the connective, and then there exists v, another function r, y comma v. So this is your given example, and this example is in WFF. Now you have to assume that we are given with some English statement, or we are given with some facts, and those facts or that particular fact is converted into this WFF. Now today we have to learn what steps we have to follow to convert this WFF into clausal form, or you can say we have to convert them into CNF. Now, we have to follow some specific steps which are known as WFF to clausal form conversion algorithms. That is, you have to follow these steps one after another. So now whenever a WFF is given, your step 1 will be you have to find whether there exists any implication sign or not. Means it may happen that your particular WFF has this implication sign, or it may happen that your WFF may have this double implication sign. So in our case we have the implication sign only. So we have to understand step number 1. Whenever P implies Q, this kind of format is given, you have to convert it into not P or Q. So this form will be abbreviated as not P or Q. However, if equivalent sign is given to you, that is P double implies Q, then in that case you can write not P or Q and not Q or P. So this is your step number 1, and these are the rule of step number 1. So in our case we have implication sign only, and before implication you can think of this part as P, and rest of the part after implication you can think of it as Q. So we have our WFF in the form of P implies Q. So therefore, I will use this abbreviated form. Now how to convert this WFF to this abbreviated form? So what you have to do, first you just write this universal quantifier as it is. And then the rule is not P. Not P means this portion is your P. So now you have to apply not here at this point. So I will write not P, and then we have to write or. Implication sign will be written as or, and then Q. Q means rest of the part will be as it is. So now I have to mention one point. Whenever you have this kind of scenario, you have to use one bracket, because this is your connective and this is your quantifier. So you have to use one bracket in between, and you can use this bracket also. So this is your one part. So step number 1 is over. So what is your step number 2? Here step number 2 deals with negation. Means whenever you have this kind of scenario, not of not P, then we know that we can use P instead of not P. And also we have to remember, according to De Morgan's law, whenever you have this kind of statement, now you can apply De Morgan's law on this, and in place of this statement you can write, see, not all means there exist. So if you have not symbol over the universal quantifier, then the sign will be changed as there exist. Then there exists x, and then this not will be shifted here. So it will become not of fx. So in place of this, you can write this. Alternatively, if this kind of situation is given to you, that is not there exists x fx, then again applying De Morgan's law, you can write it as not there exist means all x, and this not will be shifted from here to here. So not of fx. So this is the rule that you can apply. Now we have to find out whether this kind of scenario we have in our problem or not. So after applying step 1 in our problem, this is the result. Now we have this kind of scenario over here. We have not of all z, and then we have some function something like fx. So we can apply step number 2 at this point of time. So what I can write here is, after applying step number 2, this portion will be as it is. And then according to De Morgan's law, we know that not of all means I can write there exists z, and then this not will be shifted here. So I will write not of p, and then rest of the part will be as it is. And then this part will be same as before, no change. So this is your step number 2. Now step number 3 is little bit tricky. So here try to understand one point. Here one thing is mentioned, since we have many steps in our algorithm, but it may happen some of the steps are not useful. So at that point of time you can omit those steps. So basically here step number 3 is you have to rename the variables. So what do you mean by renaming the variables? Say if you have this kind of scenario, that is for all x px there exists x qx. Try to identify what is the problem here. Here I am using two different quantifiers, and both the quantifiers are using same variables. So at this point of time we can use one dummy variable instead of repetitive variables. Means I can write this statement as for all x px, means for all universal quantifier I'm using one variable, and for the second quantifier I am using another variable. So this is known as renaming of variables. So try to understand whenever you have this kind of scenario that your different universal quantifier is using same variable. So you have to rename any of the variable according to your choice. So here I am renaming the second variable as y. But it may happen that it is not required for your problem. See, in our case, after applying step number 2, this is our final output. So now in this case, we do not have this kind of scenario. That is, there exists x for all y. Two different quantifiers are using two different variables. Similarly, whenever I am using quantifiers, they are using different variables. So these are the cases. So here step number 3 is not required in our case. So I will omit this step number 3, and then I will move directly to the step number 4. And this step number 4 is one of the most important step in this algorithm. And this step number 4 is known as skolemization. Now I would rather say that this skolemization itself has two different cases. First, let me explain what is the meaning of skolemization. Skolemization means you have to drop the existential quantifier. So if your particular given WFF is having some existential quantifier, you have to drop them. Dropping of existential quantifier will have two cases. Case number one. Say you have your existential quantifier like this. Means if the leftmost quantifier in an expression is an existential quantifier, then you have to replace its occurrences of the variable inside the given function. Or I can say if the leftmost quantifier is an expression, is an existential quantifier, you have to replace its occurrences by some variables or by some arbitrary constants. So what is this? I will explain you. So here we will learn skolemization. So skolemization means you have to drop the existential quantifier. So what is your case number 1? Case number 1 means as a leftmost expression, you have one existential quantifier and then rest of the expression will be given as this. See, so in that case, you have to replace all the occurrences of the variable that exist with the existential quantifier inside the expression by some arbitrary constant. Here the point is whenever you are going to replace a particular existential quantifier that is the leftmost expression means before that you have nothing, then at this point of time whatever variable you have with this existential quantifier, if that variable appears in the rest of the expression, you have to replace that variable with some constant value. Constant value means A, B, C, D, something like that. This is your case number 1. And now let's focus on case number 2. Case number 2 means your existential quantifier is preceded by one or more universal quantifier. Means, say we have two universal quantifier. After that, we have one existential quantifier. And then we have some particular expression like this. So this is your case number 2, that is your existential quantifier is preceded by one or more universal quantifiers. So in that case, you have to replace the occurrence of the variable that exists with the existential quantifier with a function. Means whichever existential quantifier you are going to drop, if it has more than one universal quantifier before it, then the rule is simple. Again, you have to replace the variable that exists with the existential quantifier from the expression. But how you are replacing it, this is the new thing that you have to learn here. So at this point of time, this z will be replaced by a function. Means instead of z, you have to write some function name, and what will be the variables or what will be the arguments that you have to use inside this function? You have to use the argument that is with the universal quantifier which is immediately preceding your existential quantifier. That is, you have to write x comma y. And remember one point, if you have this kind of scenario, whenever you have only one universal quantifier before your existential quantifier, then you have to replace the z definitely by a function, but in that case, your argument the function argument will be 1 because we have only one universal quantifier, and the argument will be x because this is the only variable that we have with the universal quantifier. And one point you have to remember, what function name you should use. So in that case, the function name is totally dependent on the person who is performing the scholemization. However, you have to remember one point, the function name should not be redundant. Means, see, in the given expression, already I have one function with the name f. So I cannot use this function name as f. So instead of f, I can use anything. So repetitive function names are not allowed in scholemization. So after applying step number 1 and 2, we reached up to this point that we have. Now, how we can perform scholemization on this given WFF? So we have to understand. So now we have to apply our step number 4. Means we are applying scholemization. So what do you mean by scholemization? We have to drop existential quantifier. So what I will do, I will drop this existential quantifier one by one. Now first I will focus on this existential quantifier. Now while dropping, we have to remember, before this existential quantifier we have no preceding universal quantifier. So it comes under case number 1. Means occurrence of x in the expression will be replaced by some arbitrary constant. So this is your first output of the scholemization. Now consider the second step. Now we have another existential quantifier, that is there exists z. But before that I have one universal quantifier. So now it will come under case number 2. Means the occurrence of z in the rest of the expression will be replaced by some function. So I am using one function name, say g, because the function name f is already there in the expression. So I am replacing the occurrence of z by a function, that is g. Now, what should be the argument inside the function? So here the z is preceded by an universal quantifier all, and the variable with this all quantifier is y. So therefore this y will be used as an argument inside the function. So basically, after dropping this universal quantifier, the occurrence of z will be replaced by function g of y. Now I will check if there exists any other existential quantifier or not. So now I have another existential quantifier, that is there exists u. If I perform scholemization on this, the question is it comes under which case? Now pay attention to this. Here there exists u comes under case number 2. Now the question is why? See, preceding means not immediately preceding, means there exists u. It is also having a particular universal quantifier before it. Not immediately, but before it we have all y. So therefore, there exists u. If I perform scholemization on this, it comes under case number 2. So the occurrence of u will be further replaced by some function, say h, and the argument inside this function will be y, the variable which is with the universal quantifier, that is preceding the there exists u. Now I will find is there exist any other case of collimization or not. So here we have there exists v. If I want to perform scholemization, again it will come under case number 2, because before there exists v, not immediately before, we have all y. So in this case, there exists v will be replaced by some function, and the argument of the function will be y. So what will be the output after performing scholemization on this WFF? So the idea is very simple, that we have to drop the existential quantifier. So we will have all y only. And then we have to drop the second existential quantifier also. So we have all p and then f of a. Then y and z is replaced by g of y. And then there exists u, it is dropped. We have q and x is replaced by a, and u is replaced by h of y, and there exists v, it is dropped. We have r, y, v. So in that case, v is replaced by the function I of y. So this is the final output after performing scholemization. So this is our fourth step. Now, after performing the fourth step, we have to move on to the step number 5. Step number 5 is very easy. In step number 5, we have to perform the disjunction on literals, or we can say we have to apply one rule of mathematics. And now, what is that rule? That rule is known as distributive law. So, what do you mean by distributive law? If you have something in this form, P or Q and R, we can write it as P or Q and P or R. Or else, if the given format is in this format, P and Q or R, then we can write it as, according to distributive law, P and Q or P and R. Now we have to find out which law to apply. So in this case, we have P or Q and R. So in that case, is this rule applicable here? P or Q and R? P or Q and R. So in that case, I can write P or Q, and we can write P or R. So I'm applying this rule. So this is our P, this is our Q, and this is our R. I can write P or Q. The first part is over, and now we have to write and P or R. So this is your P, this is your R. So it will be and P or R. But now here is a question. Where is your all y? Where should I write it? So basically you have to remember one point. Applying distributive law is actually your step number 6. Before applying this, you have to perform one step number 5. What is that? In that case, you have to just drop the universal quantifier. Means after applying scholemization, then you have to drop the universal quantifier. Now since dropping universal quantifier has no rule, means you just have to drop it as it is. After dropping, you don't have to apply anything in the rest of the expression. So just drop the universal quantifier, then your step number 5 is over, and then directly apply step number 6. That is, here you have to apply distributive law. So now try to understand after applying distributive law, P or Q and P or R. So this is your clause number 1 and this is your clause number 2 and you have one and in between. Your answer will be clause 1 is this one and clause 2 is this one. So this is your clausal form conversion of the given WFF. So whenever a particular WFF is given to you, first try to remove implication or equivalent sign. Then you just try to remove not. So if you have double not, then you have to perform De Morgan's law, or if you have not on the quantifier, then you have to take the action accordingly. Then the third step is renaming variable. So this step is not required in our case, and maximum of the cases you don't need this step. So we can omit this. In the fourth step, we have performed scolemizations and then you have to drop the all quantifier. And in the sixth step, you have to use the distributive law. And in the distributive law, this is your clause 1 and this is your clause 2. While writing the answer, you have to remember you don't have to write this and connective. Instead, you have to write clause 1 and clause 2. So this is the conversion. So try to understand whenever facts are given to you, first you have to convert those facts into WFF. After converting those facts into WFF, you have to convert this individual WFF facts into this clausal form. So then your step 2 will be achieved of resolution algorithm. Then your each and every fact will be converted to clausal form, means it will be converted to CNF. Afterwards, you can perform negation on the goal and then you can draw the unification tree and then only your resolution algorithm will be completed.